Hello and welcome to Another Home Sold, a show about Wellesley real estate, where you can hear from the experts on the things that you need to know whether you're looking to buy a new home, maintain your current home, or whether you're preparing to sell your home. I'm your host and realtor, Steven.Verdelli, with Coldwell-Banker, Wellesley's #1 real estate company for 24 years in a row. Today, we have a great show. We've got Fred Dellorfon on, who's a master electrician right here locally.
Correct.
Fred, thanks for coming on the show.
You're very welcome.
Fred, tell me a little bit about yourself. You grew up in Wellesley.
I did. I grew up in Wellesley and worked in Wellesley for many years. I still do. I'm still fortunate to work in Wellesley through my own company. My mom and dad still live in Wellesley, and I'm fortunate enough where my dad he works for me now too. So It works out well.
So it's been a family-run business.
My grandfather started a business in Wellesley 60 plus years ago when I got my training from them, from Reynolds Electric, and that was the best training you could ever ask for. And I worked with my uncles and my cousins, and then I worked for them for 18 years, and I branched out on my own after 18 years, and I've been on my own for 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, Fred, you are a master electrician.
Yep.
What does that mean, being a master electrician compared to a regular electrician?
Well, right now, we have a journeyman's and a master's, okay? I have a master's, which means that I have taken all the exams necessary to get to that level. And initially you start your apprenticeship for 4 years, and then you get a journeyman's license. So that's your first stage, is to get that journeyman's. When you're a master's, that means that you can run a business and you could hire more than one person. Usually the rate is one licensed electrician to one helper. Okay. When you have that master, you can hire more than one helper.
Okay.
So that's the advantages.
Hence you've got a group of people working for you.
I do. I have a group of people, and I go between, at the most I've had 7 electricians now. I have 3 core guys that work for me now. One kid grew up in Wellesley, Andy Dosdell, and he's a master. And another kid, John Barrett, he's a journeyman. So those 2 core guys work for me. And again, my dad works for me. That I'm very fortunate that he works with me. So it's great. So
everyone on your staff is trained, knows exactly what they're doing, and works under a master electrician as well.
Correct.
Great.
Yep.
So to maintain your master electrician's license, do you have required continuing education courses?
Yeah, every 3 years there's a new code that comes out.
Okay. Updates
the new code, new safety devices, new ways we have to do things. So every time that a new code comes out, we have to take a 21-hour course, and we have to have that course signed off, or by the time we have to renew our license, which is every few years, every other year I think, then we have to have that course taken care of. So 21 hours.
Great.
It updates us on all the new changes in the code.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about houses, electrical work, when you're buying a house, maintaining your house, or looking to sell your house. Obviously, as a realtor, I show a lot of houses. The first thing people do is they turn the lights on, and it kind of ends there with their search and investigation on electricity. But we know it goes a lot deeper than that.
Right.
What do people need now in order to sell a house to keep up with electrical codes?
Well, to sell the house, what people are looking for, I'd say you have to have at least 100 amp service. Anything, if you have a 60 amp service, they want to update it to a minimum of 100. So you have to have that, and you have to get rid of some of the old knob and tube wiring.
So knob and tube wiring, I know you brought an example of what that is.
I did. This is what knob and tube wiring would look like in a basement. You'd see this on the joists.
Okay, that would be in the basement.
Most likely in the basement or in the attic, or maybe in crawl spaces. It's really in the walls, but you wouldn't see them because of all the plaster.
So this would be actually the wire that carries the electricity.
Correct.
Which is insulated with what?
This is original wiring. This is the first wiring that there ever was. So in houses, so it's just an insulator that's over the copper wire.
Okay.
And it's got these porcelain cleats, which is an insulator from the material it's on, like the wood. So you'd probably see a couple of these. You'd see one on one side of the joist, one of the others. But this is what homeowners really need to look for, because if they have this in their house, they really have to get rid of. They have to get rid of it or disconnect it before they sell a house.
That's mandated by law now.
Pretty much it's mandated by insurance companies.
Okay.
They won't insure homeowners if they have this in. So what we're finding out now, people are selling their houses and they don't know they had this in, and all of a sudden they got to spend X amount of money to get rid of it.
Okay.
So, and you can't blame them because they never knew about it.
Probably being determined or investigated when they have a home inspection.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And the reason for that is this has lasted a long time and it's been okay, but it hasn't been touched. If now with the new insulations, like they blow insulation inside the walls, and they might disturb this, and it's so old that it might crack, and that's where you run into the problems. Whether it's in the attic and it cracks,
Yep.
it might have a foil insulation, and that could cause a problem.
So again, this is called knob and tube wiring.
Knob and tube wiring, right?
Okay.
Something to think about, so you're not caught off guard at the end when you're trying to sell your house.
Or when you're going to buy a new home.
True.
Yep. So let's also talk about three-pronged versus two-pronged electrical outlets. I know a lot of the older homes had the two-pronged outlets, and a lot of our current appliances have three-pronged outlets.
Right.
How can those be switched over?
The best way to switch to get a three-prong plug would be to rewire the whole circuit if that's needed. Usually you want to have a three-prong plug on any type of motor load for like a refrigerator or a washing machine, that type of thing. You definitely want to have a three-prong plug on. I think the best safety thing to do is when you move into a new house is to change them all. It's probably the most inexpensive thing to do is to get rid of the old two-prong plugs. If there's only two-prong wiring, in other words, if there's no ground, you could at the very least put a new two-prong plug in. So that's one option.
Okay.
You could put a GFI outlet in, which is by code, they say it's okay to do that as well. But in the long run, I think as you remodel the house a little at a time, you upgrade the wiring to accept a new three-prong plug, you know.
So for somebody who's looking to buy a new home,
Yeah.
first-time home buyers, or looking to buy an older home, and they go and they investigate, they determine that they have this knob and tube wiring and that there's two-pronged outlets there. At that point in time, could they contact you to come in if they were indeed serious about buying this house to get sort of an estimate as to the cost of renovating and upgrading this?
Yeah, they could, but again, I think it's not just the new people buying the home. I think it's up to the people selling the home.
To get this all taken care of.
They're the ones that have to get it taken care of before it even gets
Goes
to
on the
that
market.
point. Yeah, and that's a whole rewiring job.
Sure.
So it gets pretty costly.
So again, with these old homes, we're not using as much power as we used to 50 years ago. Appliances. Most homes have at least 2 refrigerators now. They're running computers, radios. A lot of times homes are, electricity and electronics are 10 times more than they were 50 years ago. And that continues. Is it possible to bring more power into an older home that, say, is on a 50 watt?
Or 50 amp?
50 amp.
Yeah, let's say it's on a 60 amp circuit or a 60 amp breaker. I would say sometimes the existing cable is rated for 100, so you don't have to get into the cost of excavating outside to bring a new cable in. If it's a 100 amp cable, you could just put a new panel on and a new breaker exactly where the existing site is in the basement.
So explain a little bit more about what this cable is from the house to the street.
Well, right now, let's say in the town of Wellesley, you'll have a cable coming underground into your meter inside your house. So that cable there, some of the times is rated for 100 amp, but in the older day, the original panel was only fused for 60. So we could take that cable and fuse that for 100 amp. We would know that by getting the town involved and just by maybe me looking at the service to see what conductors are there.
So this should pretty much get you up to speed with all the power that you need, but definitely something that you'd want to do after you change those pronged outlets and removed, obviously, that knob and tube wiring.
Yeah, the 100 amp would get you more up to date. It wouldn't be the 200 amp service, but it would be the 100 amp, which would get you more up to date.
So it is possible to bring more electricity if you need it.
Yes, that would be that would involve an excavator. It'd involve an electrician. It'd involve the town of Wellesley. So it'd involve 3 people. It'd be a process, but we do it quite a bit.
So when I'm showing a house, I'm always looking again at those two-pronged to three-pronged outlets. I'm also kind of looking around for visual cues, such as the frayed wiring, the fiberglass insulation. What are some of these other things that people can be looking at, and are any of these salvageable?
Yeah, that's what you have to worry about. Some of the old, especially now with those TV shows out, the do-it-yourself TV shows. You see the lady and the man hanging their lights or doing tile work. When you get into the older wiring, you have to be very careful. Some of that old wiring is very brittle just from being there for years, and you can create more damage than it's worth.
Yep.
When you do install new lights, there's a sticker on it that says it's rated for 90-degree wiring. The old wiring isn't rated for that. Sometimes if the existing wiring is that cracked and frayed, we have to take that out of the box, maybe pull it up into the attic and box it out and put a new wire into the existing ceiling light so it has a new wire in it.
So that means running new electrical wires.
Into the fixture. Sometimes that has to be done when the wire is that frayed and that brittle. Yeah.
So you can actually run certain wires for certain fixtures that you're planning on running in your home rather than rewiring the whole property.
Yeah. When it comes to the lighting, what happens with lighting after years, sometimes the bulbs that are in the fixtures, they create a lot of heat, and the heat gets trapped in the lights, especially lights with the globes, and the heat goes up into the box and kind of makes the wires a little brittle. You are protected by the circuit breaker, so it's not that you're not safe, but it's something that if someone that isn't a licensed electrician gets up to start to change, they're going to have problems because of that.
So you get a potentially hazardous situation there.
Yeah, it has to be addressed, and you'd want to
Yep.
change the wiring then.
Now, a lot of appliances that we buy now and can't live without require dedicated circuits.
Mm-hmm.
How is that when you're renovating a kitchen, or you're in an older home and you're putting in new appliances?
Yeah.
Now, new appliances in an older kitchen, but have the same electrical background or behind the walls. Tell me a little bit about that. What has to be done there?
Well, things have changed quite a lot, especially in this last new code that we had, and it's pretty much when you do an old kitchen, you pretty much wire it up to new anyways. Whether the walls are in or whether it's gutted, we have to fish new wires in. We have to bring up dedicated lines to certain appliances. There are a lot of different breakers we have to put on these appliances now between the ground fault and the arc faults. It's a whole new ball game, but it has to be updated. So really, everything's updated to the current code, whether it's old or new.
So back to what you just touched base on, you do it new kitchen.
Yeah.
Going out and buying appliances is actually, there's a lot more involved with it than just going out buying them and installing them, plugging in a new refrigerator, hooking up your new dishwasher. You've got to make sure that these appliances are actually hooked up to proper
circuits. Most likely some of the older houses, if a refrigerator was in a certain cavity
Yeah.
of the kitchen, there's a good chance that it was wired as a
Still gonna be
separate circuit.
okay.
So it would be okay as long as the outlet is a three-prong outlet and it's grounded properly.
Again, back to the three-pronged outlet
Yeah.
versus the two.
Well, that's, again, from what I've noticed in the past, it's the quickest safety thing to do when you buy a home is to just change those two-prong outlets because they can break down internally.
Yep.
And that could cause a problem. So just to go in there and say, hey, I want new plugs put in. It's a nice little thing to do as far as safety
Okay,
for
great.
not a lot of money.
Older homes versus new homes, smoke detectors, carbon monoxides. They were not hardwired in years ago. They were kind of screwed in to the ceiling and they ran on batteries. Can these
Right.
be added in and hardwired throughout the house, even on an older property?
Yeah, they can be. They are the advantage of these new smoke detectors and carbon monoxide. They do come in a combination where you get a CO2 and smoke combination detector, and they can be interconnected, which means you have to. The advantage of that is if it goes off in the basement, it will sound off in the first floor and then in the second floor.
Yep.
So that's the advantage of that. And to do that in an older house is a little more involved. You have to fish from floor to floor, in the walls, down to the basement, all
Yep.
around. So that's a little more involved. But again, that's the safety advantage of it is you're notified when something's going on
Yeah.
elsewhere in the house.
Absolutely.
But nowadays, the code is so different than in the past. Like you need one in every bedroom now, a smoke detector, and at least a CO2
Smoke
within every
yep.
10 feet of
Yeah.
a bedroom.
Photo electronic, all those outside.
Yeah.
So I guess when you're looking for a new home, again, scorch marks are some things I look for. What other things should people be looking for that would require immediate attention that you
Well,
can think of?
That's a great question. I think what I like to tell people is you always should be a detective in your own house. I would always say, feel your switch plate. Maybe the dimmer's getting warm. If it's getting too warm to the touch, then maybe the dimmer's overloaded or it's breaking down. You want to change it. Maybe feel the cord on your lamp or your air conditioner, if you have a wall air conditioner, just to see if the cord's getting warm. Things like that. Just kind of be a detective in your own house and keep a wary eye on what might cause a problem. You know, you might catch a problem before it's caused, in other words.
That's a great point. Great
You
point.
know?
So warm walls, warm wires going into the electricity.
Yeah, the cords. Just feel the cords once in a while. I'm kind of one of those guys. I like to unplug some of my appliances on the kitchen counter if they're not being used.
Yep.
Just something I kind of do. It's maybe the Keurig coffee pot. I might just, after everyone's done and I'm home and I leave, just unplug it. Just kind of a safety thing.
So it's not drawing on it. And
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit about whole house generators.
Yep.
I know those are popping up left and right.
Right.
Obviously, we have inclement weather here. It can get really cold and really hot. Oftentimes, not too often in Wellesley, though, we do lose power.
Yeah.
Very often compared to some of our seaside communities. How are these
Well,
whole house generators?
The people in Wellesley are very lucky to have the Wellesley municipal light plant because
We really are.
they don't leave you without power too long.
No.
And they have upgraded their wires within the past 20 some odd years, and they don't lose power more often. And if they do, they're right there. But a generator is another nice feature to have. There's portable generators for people that don't want to spend a ton of money.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that we would control maybe 10 circuits, 10 important circuits that you think we would need to control in case the power went out.
Yep.
They'd store it in their garage. It runs on regular gasoline. Would give them a 30-foot cord where they could wheel it outside the garage, and that would give them power for a duration of time.
So portables are
Portables,
will do the job.
yeah, portable will do the basics.
Yep.
The whole house generators would run off of a natural gas source or a propane source, and would be an automatic transfer thing. So that's getting a lot more money. You'd probably have a generator company involved because they'd need to service that once a year.
Yep.
And that's for people who go away a lot too and
Sure.
might not be there to go out there to flip the switch to get
Those are
that
the
portable one
generators that
going.
go on their own right away.
Right.
Right. So we talked a lot about big jobs. What about some small jobs? I have a ceiling fan I want to put in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling the wall, and I'm thinking the dimmer switch is getting a little hot.
Yeah.
Are these the type of jobs at your company that people can contact you about?
Yeah, we do. I always say the small jobs, there's never such thing as a small job because it always leads to something else. And
Right.
just to have the loyal customers, which I'm fortunate to have, they call you back, you treat them right, they treat you right.
Right.
And you get those jobs. You get the recess light jobs down the road, or when they're ready for a new panel, they'll call you for that. Or, so you might go there for an emergency switch one night, but, you're fair to them and you do a nice job, and they'll call you back for something else down
Right.
the road. But
Fred, thanks so much
All
for coming on
jobs.
the show today.
you're very welcome.
We have Fred Dellorfon from Dellorfon Electric. That can be reached at 508-653-3467. Next, we're going to be going to a new listing here in Wellesley. We're going to be going to 1 Mulherin Lane in Wellesley Hills with the list agent, Linda Shaughnessy. Hi, Linda.
Hi, Steve.
Thanks for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
Now, Linda, how long have you been with Coldwell-Banker?
I've been with Coldwell-Banker I'm in my 30th year with them. When they began in Wellesley, 1985,
Wow.
I started in my career as a realtor, and I've been with them. We've changed names a little bit here and there, but I've been with them ever since.
So
it was
you
the way to go.
You have enjoyed your run with them, and now
Absolutely.
you're enjoying the 24th year of #1 in Wellesley sales.
Absolutely.
That's great.
Absolutely.
So we are going to be going to 1 Mulherin Lane in Wellesley. So Linda, tell me a little bit about this beautiful little home.
Well, Steve, it is a beautiful home. It was built in 1913, and rumor has it that it was built for the granddaughter of Nathan Longfellow, the gentleman for whom Longfellow Pond and Wellesley, Longfellow Estates area was, and supposedly this was originally built for him, for her.
That makes sense because it's not that far.
It's not that far. If you actually were able to walk
Yep.
right through the back, you'd end up there. It's when we first went to see the house, it's just very, very charming from the outside, but when you go in, it's just amazing how spacious and how high the ceilings are. The windows are bright, big, so the light comes shining in, but mostly the period detail is still there. It's pretty deceptively spacious. When you look and you think it's a very charming slate roof, sort of a gambrel style, and maybe a little small inside, but it's not. The room size and dimensions are wonderful.
They are wonderful. And when I saw this on Broker's Tour, the first thing that really got me interested and really kind of wowed me was the height of the ceilings,
Exactly.
both on the first and second floor.
Exactly. That was, and there's a vestibule as you walk in, which is a surprise because it's quite large, and then you have a.
So you've got the center entrance here, and this
Yep.
is a slate roof, correct?
That's right.
That's
That's right.
great. And you've got a porch here on the side.
Which you can enter from the living room.
Now the
There's-
house is hardwood floors throughout.
It does have hardwood floors throughout. In the first floor, the original appear to be maple. They did put oak floors in the kitchen, the present owners, and upstairs are probably fir, but there's hardwood throughout.
And this is all original crown molding throughout the house.
Absolutely.
And oversized windows for that period.
Oversized windows, absolutely. A lot of the windows in the home, I'd say the majority, have been changed, but they kept the character of the house and the size. They're wood, they're not vinyl clad, but they're, they replaced them with beautiful, the ones that were replaced.
Now, you can't really see it here in the picture, but I know that there's almost like a small little potting shed
That's
off the
right.
side, which is really a really unique feature. I've never seen that in a house before.
Neither have we, and there's actually a drain in the floor there, so that's why we think it must have been a potting shed.
That
but
is
now it would be
great.
a great place to put wood or something for the fireplace.
Or continue potting,
Continue
if
potting,
you're
right.
a gardener.
Right.
So we've got hardwood floors throughout. We have a beautiful fireplace in the living room and French doors that go out to the front porch.
That's right. That's the living room fireplace that we have there. That's a closer look of it.
Beautiful.
And you'll see another later. Now, that's one picture of the French doors. They have pocket doors that go to the living room and to the dining room, all the original. Again, you can get a good view of the height and the moldings.
This is great. This is great because you don't see the people actually maintain this or save this.
That's
nice
right.
that they saved that. Okay, so this is the dining room that we're in right now, and there's a fireplace in the dining room as well with a built-in.
Absolutely. And you'll see another angle of the dining room that gives you a better view of all of those things. And see, again, you can see the wide windows, and in the front are even wider. So even though they have been replaced, the moldings around have not, so that you've kept the character of that 1913 style.
And they've continued to maintain it with updating their lighting features as well.
They did. They updated the electricity throughout the house. And then what they did was they brought it a little bit into the 2015 with the neutral sort of warm colors, the grays and blues, and it sort of I like to call it a pottery barn type of look,
Yeah.
which goes so well with their period detail.
And so there's a fireplace in the living room and the dining room.
And the dining room.
Kitchen looks like it is renovated.
It has been renovated. They did a few more renovations. It has a new stove, and it's all gas cooking. It's an all gas home, which is nice too. But
Very
they
nice.
have gas cooking, and they added a few things and took out a few others and added hardwood floors.
Very nice. And I love it when the counters and the cabinets go right
Have
up to the ceiling.
That's right. The other thing that you can't see in any of these pictures is that the laundry, they have a stacking laundry
Yep.
off of there, and also a utility closet
That's
too.
nice. So they're not going down to the basement to do laundry.
That's right. which is very much a fieldstone basement.
And this is a 4-bedroom home.
4 bedrooms, another surprise to us.
Large master bedroom, I
Large
thought.
master. It takes a king size bed, and they kept the original windows over on the side because they were just so attractive.
That you can see from the front of the house.
That's right.
Beautiful, and hardwood floors upstairs as well.
That's right. And the height, as you say, in the ceiling, and a foyer. When you come up, you just don't go into a room. You have quite a bit of space as you come to the top of the stairs.
A foyer on the second floor as well. And I remember the great foyer right when you walked in the front door.
Absolutely. Wonderful.
And surprisingly, very nice closets in an older home like this.
Very nice closets and very nice sized rooms. These rooms are very spacious, given the age of the home and everything. There's a lot of space built here. It was probably very much a custom home when it was built.
I would certainly say so. So you get 4 bedrooms upstairs, and how many square feet throughout the whole house?
Approximately 2,200, a little bit over. The town says 2,226 square feet.
A total of 7 rooms, 4 bedrooms, 1.5 baths.
Right, there is a little half bath off of the kitchen. It's darling.
I remember that. And a full basement as well.
And a full basement, and there could be. It is not finished at the moment. No reason really that someone couldn't do something down there.
Go back and finish that.
The yard is slightly on a slope, which is very attractive as you look up, and there's a fieldstone wall behind the home, but the land actually goes beyond that.
And for those of you who don't know the location, Mulherin is on Route 9.
That's right.
Eastbound in Wellesley Hills.
Just after Standish Road, just before the exit that would go up to Cedar Street. So if you needed to make a turnaround, you just go up and
Sure,
go
great
over.
location.
It's very
and it's a
good.
dead-end street.
It's a dead-end street.
So perfect for a small family.
5 homes on the street, just nice little property.
So, Linda, if somebody was interested in seeing this house, how could they get in touch with you?
They could call my cell phone at 617-429-2488.
And is there somebody else that's listing this property with you?
Suzanne O'Neill is listing it with me, and her cell phone is 781-789-2353.
1 Mulherin Lane in Wellesley, Massachusetts. Linda, thanks so much for coming on the show today and talking about 1 Mulherin Lane. It's a beautiful home.
Thank you for having me to allow us to describe it to everybody.
Thank you. If you're interested in seeing the home, you can reach Linda Shaughnessy at Coldwell-Banker in Wellesley, 781-237-9090. And Linda, I just wanted to thank you for helping make Coldwell-Banker #1 in Wellesley sales for 24 years in a row.
It's been my pleasure, Steve. It was really the best company for me to go with. I never regretted my decision once.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed watching today's episode of Another Home Sold. Remember to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. I'm Steven.Verdelli. I'm a realtor with Coldwell-Banker in Wellesley, and thank you for watching. Please tune in next week.